Okay, so I'll start with the Mangalacharan, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhi Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Sindhu Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined and are about to join. Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 4, and the text for today is text 24. Chapter 4 is the process of creation. So, Prabhuji, would you like me to read the Sanskrit?
Please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Naram Saraswati Vyasam Tato Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Namaskrityam Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Namastasmai Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedase Vapur Jnanam Aham Saumya Yanmuktam Buruhashavam. Nama, my obeisances. Tasmai, unto him. Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya, unto Vasudev or his incarnation. Vedasa, the compiler of Vedic literatures. Papu, trunk. Jnanam, knowledge. I am this Vedic knowledge. Somya, the devotees, especially the consorts of Lord Krishna. Yat, from whose. Mukha Amruta, the lotus-like mouth. Nectar from his mouth. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vasudeva who compiled the Vedic scriptures, the pure devotee drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should I continue with the purport?
Yes.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
In pursuance of the specific utterance Vedasa, or the compiler of the system of transcendental knowledge, Srila Sridhara Swami has commented that the respectful obeisances are offered to Srila Vyasadeva, who is incarnation of Vasudeva. Srila Jiva Goswami has agreed to this, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made a further advance, namely that the nectar from the mouth of Lord Krishna is transferred to his different consorts, and thus they learn the finer arts of music, dance, dressing, decorations, and all such things which are relished by the Lord. Such music, dance, and decorations enjoyed by the Lord are certainly not anything mundane, because the Lord is addressed in our very beginning as Para, or transcendental. This transcendental knowledge is unknown to the forgotten conditioned souls. Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of the Lord, thus compiled the Vedic literatures to revive the lost memory of the conditioned souls about their eternal relations with the Lord. One should therefore try to understand the Vedic scriptures, or the nectar transferred by the Lord to his consorts is a conjugal humor from the lotus-like mouth of Vyasadeva or Sukadeva. By gradual development of transcendental knowledge, one can rise to the stage of the transcendental arts of music and dance displayed by the Lord in his Ras Leela. But without having the Vedic knowledge, one can hardly understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's rasa dance and music. The pure devotees of the Lord, however, can equally relish the nectar in the form of the profound philosophical discourses and in the form of kissing by the Lord in the rasa dance, as there is no mundane distinction between the two. Hare Krishna. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So we're continuing with our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4. Today's text is 24. Namastasmai Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedhase Vapur Gyanam Ayam Shomya Yanmukam Buru Ashravam. And the text, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vasudeva, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. The pure devotees drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. So I think last week and other times we reflected upon how the devotees, they see Krishna through the ears by hearing from more advanced devotees who have seen Gyaninas Tattva Darshanam, who have seen Lord Krishna more than we have. Just as we hear about anything from someone else who has more experience. And this specific verse directly tells us who compiled the Vedic scriptures. If we ever have a reason to verify for someone or give a reference how Srila Vyasadeva is the author or who compiled, here it is. It's in this second canto, chapter 4. Because I say that thinking about how we have also discussed in the past that if we're speaking with someone who is somewhat familiar with Hinduism or the Vedas, about establishing authority, who is the final authority about what Hinduism is or what um, Vedic religion or spirituality is. Obviously, it will be the person or persons um, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. So that is Srila Vyasadeva and also others who assisted him. So authority, the pandit at the local temple in the neighborhood, or our uncle, some Brahmins. There's so many who have some understanding of Hinduism. But without Srila Vyasadeva, there's no word Ganesh or puja to say. So it can be very useful in speaking to, especially someone who's, well, my uncle said this, and these Brahmins say that, and they have these pundits, and that's all good. But do you know who originally gave the four Vedas? Who originally gave the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Dhanurveda, the Ayurveda? And most of the time they don't. Even even those who you would think should know, they don't know. Very often, it is often very important, or not important, but useful. But in this day and age, there is a lot more confidence in um, disrespect for authority. Well, I think this and I think that and I believe this and my grandfather thought that, and of course we should always have respect for our parents, our elders, and Brahmin priests. Of course, they should always be respected. But it may not be that they necessarily know everything that they should know about a particular subject. And there's no harm in understanding that. It's just a fact. Our grandmother may understand so many parts of the Mahabharata, be able to tell us stories from the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, but it may very well be that she's not qualified to perform brain surgery, or maybe she is. But that's fine. It's not a bad thing. Uh, but to understand reality is we need to understand reality and not be overcome by sentiment. That I don't want to be offensive to this person. I don't want to disrespect them. No, we may not be able to say anything to them, but we may know that this person is not understanding everything about a certain subject matter, and I need to uh, find out from someone else. That's not disrespectful. So Srila Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedic scriptures, and here in the purport there is Srila Prabhupada describes there is uh, some difference or some difference in presenting the meaning of the Sanskrit, not in terms of philosophical difference. Krishna, of course, we know Krishna, he is seen in different ways by different people, just like when he entered what was it, the wrestling arena in Mathura. And there were all the different types of people in the audience, his parents and friends, people, residents of Mathura. And according to their rasa, according to their understanding, they saw Krishna in different ways. And each of those ways was true. Just like we may say, a mango is a fleshy fruit, and a mango has a big pit. Mango has a green or reddish um, skin. These are all true statements. One doesn't cancel the other. Are all true at the same time. So Krishna or God is understood by different people in different ways. Partial. What's the example that's given of seeing a mountain? This is a very useful analogy. Sometimes speaking with people on the spiritual path, uh, that a mountain is a mountain. But if one is walking on the mountain, one sees a lot more detail than from 20 miles away. Some of us may have seen mountains, flying in an airplane, or anything from a distance. You say that this is a tall thing in the distance. It looks gray, or whatever it looks like. And then we get a little closer and we say, oh, yes, this is it. We see the trees and maybe buildings on the mountain. And then when we walk on the mountain, then we so much more detail. So everyone is talking about the same thing. That's a fact. But different people have different depth of uh, of understanding. So this is, the different religious paths and the different types of yoga. It's like bhakti yoga. We understand bhakti yoga is the only yoga by which one can fully as possible, realize God. So we're not saying it's the only way. We're just saying that it is the only way to get as close as one can get. That's what we say. And it's not just we're saying it. We're not this isn't some, uh, what do you call it? Some social or political neighborhood pride. But Lord Krishna himself says in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, only by pure devotion can I be understood as I am in full, in my two-armed form. So we're not saying it or hopefully we're not, out of some kind of arrogance, but it's just a fact that Bhakti Yoga is the only way to realize Krishna as much as we souls can. So Srila Prabhupada describes how Srila Jiva Goswami has presented comments on this verse, and Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti has taken it a little bit further, looking at it from a different perspective, another perspective, that not just philosophy and Sanskrit verses are coming from Krishna, but it is a fact that Lord Krishna transfers the nectar from his mouth to his consorts, the gopis and the maidservants of the gopis and the queens of Dwarka. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point, such music, dance, and decorations are certainly not anything mundane, because the Lord is addressed at the very beginning as Para. So we may remember at the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, what is that verse? Who remembers some of the Sanskrit? The very first verse in the first canto. It begins, Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmarasa Yatahan Vyaditaratesha Vigyasarat. And then it goes on, describing Krishna, Godhead, how he is Janmarasa Yataha Anvayaditaratesha Abhigya. He knows everything. He is Sarat. He is completely independent. Janmadasya, he is the source of everything, the maintainer of everything. So, and then at the end, Para, Param Satyam Dhimahi. So that verse is like a Gayatri mantra. Uh, what is that? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadasya Taha Vyati Taratesha Vigasarat Teni Brahma Ridyavakavaye Uyantiat Surya Tejo Mridam Trishargo Mishra Damna Swena Sada Nirista Kulakam Param Satyam Dhimi. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, that in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna, the chariot driver of Arjuna, who ran in retreat of Mother Jashoda when she chased him with a stick, who plays with the coward boys, who wrestled with Kamsa, who is Dwarkadish, the controller of Dwarka. This same Lord Krishna, how could we forget, who engages in seemingly romantic uh, pastimes with the young girls of Braja and with the queens of Dwarka. He is Param Satyam. He is the absolute truth. From him, everything emanates. So not that we should take him cheaply, but it is wondrous. It is amazing that such inconceivably powerful person is joking around and pinching the young girls of Braja and kissing them, or running in fear of Mother Tashoda. It's just mind-boggling, and so it has to be understood uh, by asking about it. That how is this? Why? So Srila Prabhupada writes that music, dance, and decorations enjoyed by the Lord are certainly not anything mundane. See, that's the point. That first, Krishna is established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then, if anything, whatever else he is involved with, it is not ordinary. It's not, that's the point. It's not ordinary. There's something different and special about it compared to us. Um, Srila Prabhupada goes on to say this transcendental knowledge is unknown to the forgetful conditioned souls, and Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of the Lord, thus compiled the Vedic literatures to revive the lost memory. One should therefore try to understand the Vedic scriptures, or the nectar transferred by the Lord to his consorts from the lotus-like mouth of Vyasadeva or Shukadeva. By gradual development of transcendental knowledge, one can rise to the stage of the transcendental arts of music and dance displayed by the Lord in his Rasa Lila. But without having the Vedic knowledge, one can hardly understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's Rasa dance and music. So it's a good point. I don't know if how many of us have bumped into someone who was, oh, this Krishna, he's just a womanizer. Uh, why should we care about him? He's just always involved with women. Or what are you saying that God uh, appears as a boar or a turtle? Come on, God appears as a tortoise or a gigantic fish. So uh, it will be. How could we can't blame anyone? I mean, I think I have thought like that myself. But that's because of not understanding Krishna. As we come to understand Krishna, even theoretically, then okay, all right, now I can see how that's possible, or how it's not ordinary. So it requires some training, some education. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to say the pure devotees of the Lord can equally relish the nectar in the form of the profound philosophical discourses and in the form of kissing by the Lord in the rasa dance, as there is no mundane distinction between the two. So really, how wonderful. How, of course, I don't need to say it, and it doesn't really matter if I say it, but we are only discussing, and it's good to discuss, whoever we are, that how wonderful is Krishna, that so powerful, infinitely powerful, and all magical, mystic power. Uh, Yet uh, the focus of his existence is love. Love. He enjoys love. He enjoys loving relationships with his devotees, just like anyone else, right? Don't we enjoy having some good friends that we really care about and they care about us, and children and parents? And I mean, that's life. Isn't that as happy life as we can have when we have some affectionate, loving relationships around us? Isn't that what's better than that? I mean, good food and traveling and music, such things like that, they're nice, but does anyone disagree? There's nothing better than love, loving relationships as far as feeling satisfied and life is worth living. So where does that come from? That's what we ask. Where does that come from? It can't come from nothing. It must be it has to be somehow where everything comes from. It has to be. That's just scientific logic. So how adbhuta, that's the word, wondrous. Adbhuta singha, the opulences of the Lord are adbhuta, wondrous. They just shock our brains. How uh, millions, unlimited universes are emanating from Lord Krishna. He expands himself into other forms. He's in everyone's heart as the super soul, and he's driving the chariot of Arjuna, and he's eating with the Pandavas. God eats. Yeah, God talks, he walks, we talk. How could God not be able to walk if he wanted to or talk? Theoretically, he has inconceivable he has inconceivable ability for one thing, and we do. Monkeys walk, they eat. Monkeys can do something God can't. That's ridiculous. That's such a ridiculous. But the thing is, very often we don't think. We don't think very deeply for whatever reason, isn't it? We bandy about God is great. But how many people actually think about that? What does that really mean? What does it really mean? God is great. In America, the money, the currency, it has in God we trust. But how many, I don't know, but how many people uh, understand that as deeply as we could or we should? So if someone says, well, how is that possible? Then it must be they don't understand God very much, because God means, by very definition, able to do anything and everything. So, of course, he can walk and he can talk if he wants to, and he can appear as a boar and a fish and half man, half lion, Nisingade. He can do that. I can't do that. I can't, but that doesn't mean he can't. And that's the other part of it, isn't it? That our tendency, um, Atmavat Manyate Jagat, Srila Prabhupada would quote this Sanskrit, Atmavat Manyate Jagat. that we look at everything according to our experience, which is useful. I mean, it's not bad, but it has its limitations. Looking at things according, well, I've never heard of that. Well, so what? Have you traveled to every country? Have you visited every city? How many books have you read? Who are you to give your final pronouncement? Well, that's not possible. Well, why not? Well, I can't do it. There are people, I mean, I have thought like that. Well, I can't do that. So what? Who are you? uh, so that therefore, as we have talked about before, from the 13th chapter, the beginning of spiritual wisdom is humility. I think there's some saying that the beginning of wisdom is to understand that we're ignorant or we don't know everything. And it's surprising, actually, to what degree some people, without realizing it, do think like that. That I know, I know, I know. You don't have to tell me. I know, um, which might be true, but it could be not as true as people think. And actually, we don't know. Actually, as far as I understand, many humans are actually afraid, deeply afraid and in anxiety because most people uh, are aware that at any day I can die. And that will put you in anxiety, won't it? And really, um, without realizing that they're doing it, perhaps. Many people, most people, I would say, what do they call it? Bluffing, bluffing. And we learn this, people learn this early in life. We learn it in childhood, how to bury our fears and bury our anxieties and be strong uh, and be very and be very busy. Keep our minds busy so we don't think about death and we don't think about why there's suffering. We don't think of so we don't put ourselves into anxiety or depression. Just be very busy with the telly and the this and the social and the, what is it? Entertainment world, social media now, anything to divert our mind. And so therefore it's another kind of intoxication. Intoxication means to be part of it is to become forgetful of reality. And we see, and I've done it myself. I'm no one special. That's what this modern culture is like, and it has been for a long time. Uh, People live talking about movies. Oh, I saw this movie, and this character did this, and that character did that, and then there's a sequel to the movie, and it's all fiction, isn't it? All of it. I mean, most of the time, the movies and they're stories like a dream. You go to sleep and you dream some detailed dream of going somewhere and there's people and this and that. But it's a dream. Uh, and music. So in this way, Maya, the conditioned soul, we give ourselves over to the intoxication of Maya. And perhaps it would be too much of a shock if the internet went out. I don't know if anyone had or had children who use the computer, internet a lot. What happens when the electricity goes out? Not pleasant in many homes. Not pleasant. It's just, what do we do? How do we spend our time? no video games, no computer, no telly. What do we do? So, perhaps it's good to have uh, regulated austerity, at least adults. We can do it, we can impose it on ourselves that today, nothing, just nothing. Just no distractions and see what happens. Be alone with ourselves, maybe for a week. That's a lot, a week, but 2 days, maybe 3 days, just be alone with our own souls, which can be very hard. It could be uncomfortable for many people to actually, because then we have an opportunity to not avoid seeing our own minds and all the different thoughts, uh, different fears, different desires that we wish we didn't have and we just push them away. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that most humans just stuff into the back of their mind, just stuff down many thoughts and feelings, and they're just stuffed in there. And just get busy with something right now. Just busy. I'm going to go shopping? What am I going to cook? Uh, you know, let me do my work. Let me read this book. Let me do anything. Because not I'm not criticizing, but it's just because then what do you do about it? Sometimes people, sometimes we become aware of different thoughts and feelings, but we don't think there's anything we can do about them, and so we just try to ignore them, just forget about them. Different, big and small. What happens at death, or why am I being bothered by this? I don't want to feel angry at my sister, and we don't know what to do about it, so we just try and forget about the fact we're angry at our mother or father or whatever it is. Or we're guilty, we're shamed, so many feelings, and it just becomes worse because all of that comes out in physical disease. It comes out, especially physical disease. It comes out in odd ways. So that's on the material side, which is bad enough. But then on top of that, and then we have avoiding who we are, avoiding re, uh, avoiding feeling that I really am tiny, and I really am just a speck in the universe, and I really don't have very much in control. So I mean that's the bluffing, which we learn in childhood. Uh, how you doing today? Good. I'm good. How's everything? Good. Everything's good, right? Right? How was your weekend? Good. God forbid we tell the truth, right? God forbid. I mean, sometimes people do. Yeah. No, it wasn't a good weekend. But this false ego, this false presentation that, yeah, I've got things under control. And it's a bluff or an intoxication. People thinking. Um, so we're discussing self-realization, coming in touch with what our mind is, what our feelings are, what our beliefs are, who we are. Well, that is, Srila Prabhupada said that self-realization or Krishna consciousness means knowing everything. It's not Krishna consciousness isn't just knowing about the spiritual world and Krishna, but it's understanding our own mind and our own feelings and becoming healed on all levels. And Krishna consciousness is not about, it's just like you begin chanting Hare Krishna and you have some infection on your foot and you just ignore it. Make believe it's not there and just chant Hare Krishna. Meanwhile, your foot is infected. No. And the same thing with our emotions and our feelings. Sometimes they need attention. Krishna consciousness is not about repression. I mean, sometimes we have to, of course, ignore uh, in the moment impulses or desires. But I'm speaking about more deep thinking patterns or feelings that are just rotting in the back, rotting. We should not, if we feel angry with Krishna, we should acknowledge it. And we will feel angry with God unless we're a super advanced devotee. We will. And Krishna knows it. We can't feel it. We can't fool him that I love you, Krishna. Oh, you're wonderful. Krishna knows we may be upset with him, really. And it's healthy, uh, however much it may be needed, and that we acknowledge that we speak our mind to Krishna, or we speak our mind to another devotee. So I feel bad about it, but sometimes I just feel so angry at Krishna. This happened and that happened, and I don't like it, and I just feel upset. And that's honest. And Krishna's not hurt by that. If we and you know, as long as we don't use foul language very much. Just like our mother or our father. Sometimes children blow up with their parents, and the parents know they're just venting, right? Venting. Or sometimes an employee or a friend, they'll just go off, right? Just wow, this person's. But we don't. They're just venting, and then after some time, you're making cookies together in the kitchen, you know. So especially mother, father with some wisdom, this is yes, yes, okay. I understand. Yes, I would be upset too. Yes. Okay. I love you. I'm not offended. Although try not to use that language. So how much Krishna? Krishna has big shoulders. We should not be thinking that we cannot speak our mind to Krishna, not just good stuff. And we resolve it and don't let it fester, making believe, oh, I love Krishna. Yeah, you may, but there's maybe some other feelings too. And it's not good to just let them fester like an infection, because there's a lot of upsetting things that happen, isn't it? Physically, we or our children or parents, bad things happen, don't they? And it bothers us, bothers me. And sometimes it's really hard to understand that how could this be good and how could Krishna let this happen? How could Krishna let this happen? That's not an easy thing to just let go, is it? If we're going to, let's be honest. It's very important to try and be as honest as we can with ourselves. We don't have to tell anyone else, but it's better, because then we clear the air. We can't fix things that we don't acknowledge need to be fixed. It's just useless. It's like a married couple, and there's, or friends, and there's some issue, and you just try and make believe it's not there, right? Oh, it just don't think about it, but it's there, and you have to. What are they? You have to grab the bull by the horn to say, look, I have to say, I'm really upset about this. I don't know if you've noticed, and you discuss it. And it may not be fun to begin with. But if we don't do that, it very often turns out far worse, right? I think so. So we can get a little upset with Krishna and express it, just like we would with our father or anyone else. Oh, Krishna, I don't understand this. I'm feeling a little upset with you. I wish I didn't, but please help me if you would to understand, or but I don't want to feel this way towards you, just like we would towards a wife or a friend or a husband. I don't want to feel like this, but I do. You may not hear this very often, but it's a part of Krishna consciousness, actually. It's called revealing our mind in confidence in the nectar of instruction. Srila Prabhupada describes it. And I looked into it a little bit, and it actually caught my eye several years ago. I was on a Christian website or something, counseling. Was it Catholic? I think a Catholic related. And so the minister was talking about this being angry with God, and how important it is to appreciate that, you know, Krishna's not fragile. I mean, Krishna, of course, I mean, we don't go, if we get stopped by a policeman, we have to be careful how we speak to them, don't we? Or if we're standing in front of a judge. So we can express our feelings. Your Honor, I'm feeling really upset by this decision. I don't understand it. If you would please, is there some way you think I could understand it? So we're expressing our feelings, but we're doing it in a proper way. That's all. That's so important for children to learn. You can express your feelings, but just do it like this. That's all. The same for a wife or a husband. Everyone, we should be able to express our feelings. And so with Krishna, uh, we don't want to offend God and Krishna. Of course not. But he's big, big shoulders, and he has a huge heart, and he's full of love. He's full of wisdom, and he already knows what we're feeling. We can't fool him. Uh, but then at the same along the same line, there's a bhakti book by one of the acharyas. I forget who, but it's called, or maybe it's a follower of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and it's called Experiences in Bhakti. I think you can look it up, Experiences in Bhakti. And it's an amazing narration of devotees' relationships with their deities. There was one Mataji who was very, very devoted to Krishna and Balaram, and they would develop runny noses, and she would wipe their nose with her sari. So Krishna, she had such simple, so that's what I'm speaking about. Just be us. So she had this motherly affection, and she'd feed them. And apparently they would get runny noses, and she'd take her sari and wipe their nose. So so personal. That's the thing, personal. Krishna's a person. That's I think that's what we're discussing here. To be personal, not impersonal, um, artificially making believe. Uh, Lord Krishna speaks about this in the third chapter, the importance of being real. Falgo Vairagya Uchite. Don't pretend to be something that you're not. Whatever you are, it's fine. I love you. I love you. I love you with your madness towards men or women, or eating or how you get angry so quickly. I love you. But you uh, own it. Own it. Yeah, I really get upset quickly. I get angry. So, and then my mouth, I just bite people's noses off. And then you can laugh about it with yourself and with others. Oh, and things become with more love in that way and understanding. The same between friends and husband and wife. It should be out in the open. Yes, I have these tendencies. And I've seen marriages that do better. And they always have this element of just each of them knowing each other's pluses and minuses and helping each other to do better. And of course, as devotees, all of us, not pretending to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not. So many mistakes. I chant japa, mispronouncing the words sometimes, and I don't always get up for Mangal Arti, and so many little, and they are little in the big scheme of things. I mean, they're important, but Krishna doesn't hate us for it. Krishna doesn't dislike us for it. We shouldn't dislike ourselves for it. We should love ourselves as Krishna loves us, with all the pluses and minuses, which doesn't mean we don't try to improve, but we don't hate ourselves and we don't hate other people. See, that's the thing. As we understand Krishna's unconditional love, and as we begin to unconditionally accept ourselves, whatever I am, it's okay because I'm imperfect. I'm never going to be perfect. Other people around me may think I should be perfect, but I'm not. And that's not an excuse for being sloppy. I'm not saying that. I wouldn't dream of saying that. Well, maybe I would dream. But uh, at the same time of trying to improve, we also not too hard on ourselves. Krishna's not so hard on ourselves. And then we won't be hard on others. We'll be able to accept others easier. When we find something, when we bump into someone who seems to be very intolerant and critical, that's how they are with themselves, whether they've learned it from someone or whatever the reason is. This is something which I began reflecting upon many years ago, and I'm still reflecting on it from time to time. Krishna loves himself, not in an egotistic way, but he loves himself. And he loves Srimati Radharani, and he loves his devotees. And we're supposed to be like that too. It's something to which, not to go too far into, but something which I had to deal with personally. So I have a little bit more experience. Um, so many things. Working on loving Krishna, working on loving ourselves, and forgiving Krishna. Yes. What? Forgive Krishna? Yeah, we may need to. Uh, Icca dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata. It's not just psychological stuff. Lord Krishna, oh, it is, but Lord Krishna is the original psychologist. And he says, all of you are really upset with me and resentful of me to one degree or the other. And it's something which needs to be fixed. So uh, that's another thing that we often don't want to think about. Oh, don't want to think about that, but it's there. So we chant Hare Krishna, and that is the Cheto Darpana Marjadam, Baba Mahadevagni Nivarpanam. Srila Prabhupada said that the cure for envy and resentment is to sing and chant the holy names of God. And we can supplement that, perhaps, if we feel the need, as they say, affirmation. Krishna, I completely forgive and love you. Oh Lord Krishna, I completely forgive myself and forgive you. And it's amazing what such a thing could do. Because he knows we're doing it. He knows we're trying to fix our relationship with him. It's not just a material, mundane thing. But, oh, they're trying to. And it's just like if you had a daughter or son, and someone said, they're going to they're taking counseling, how to improve parent-child relationship, and you feel so touched. Oh, you feel their love. So it's not a mundane thing. We're talking about whatever we can do to love Krishna or appreciate him more. Because I think this connects to something when I was looking at the verse, somehow it came to me, one of the very first things was that, so much philosophy and a lot of instructions about Krishna, but it really takes, as Krishna said, we have to work on certain character traits or it'll be hard to stay on the path. And it's something Krishna speaks about in the 13th, patience, forgiveness, uh, tolerance, goodness, sattva guna. That without to the the more that we can cultivate the qualities of sattva guna, the more secure we'll be long term. Which is why Srila Prabhupada instructs us in the Bhagavad Gita. He says the very first business of a devotee is to cultivate sattva guna. Oh, how do I be a devotee? Well, Srila Prabhupada writes, the very first thing, pay attention to sattva guna, because that will be the foundation, the strong foundation for staying on the path and staying on the path. Otherwise, staying on the path. There's so many things happen, and philosophy is good and certainly helps us. And our inner, our these qualities of sattva guna, they're so critical. So look how powerful what Srila Prabhupada's instruction in the 12th chapter. I think it's text 8, 9, 10, something like that. He says, when a devotee is put into challenging situations, into reverses of life, the devotee remains calm, quiet, and peaceful, thinking, I deserve worse. So that takes a little practice. That it's my own fault. I need to learn some lesson. The only person to look at is me in the mirror, no one else. Not Krishna, not my father, not my friend, not my guru, me. And that's hard. But it's true, I think. It's true. It actually is true. So how powerful that is. Look at these saints, how peaceful and calm and quiet. Jesus was being crucified, and Father, forgive them, and not angry at God because of that. Because of that. So powerful. What could stop you, developing that kind of inner conviction and wisdom, you know, wisdom, understanding why things happen. And then he goes on to say that when a devotee is in pleasant circumstance or good things happen, he thinks, I don't deserve all this. And he feels so grateful to Krishna. And when in reverses, then the other thing, I deserve worse. It's my own fault. So who am I complaining about? That helps us to be peaceful, calm, and it's so wonderful, isn't it, that it carries over everywhere to our employment and dealings with other people. They're like, wow, this person's different. They seem to keep their cool so much more, you know. So we have to stop. It's late. Sorry to go on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was such a practical class as always, and really very important topics being covered. Are there any questions or comments from the group? I know we have exhausted our time, but we can stay on for 10 more minutes if there's anything burning. And people, it's churning, maybe not burning, but people are thinking about it. And certainly I'm thinking of bluffing and how I just put away the feelings, the ones that I can't deal with under the carpet, and then just get on, be on an autopilot mode and don't have time to reflect. Or am I scared of reflecting because then if you reflect, then you will know the real you. So that's really, really thought-provoking. And but the modern society has trained us to be that way. I mean, since if I reflect on my life since childhood, I mean, whatever you can't do or whatever you can't deal with, you just shove it and then start afresh. So even our training is at school or at work, everybody's in that mode. So if everybody is flowing with the flow and following the rat race that is there, it's very difficult to just stop and say, hello, I need to think about this. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's,
Yeah.
this bluffing has become our real self, actually.
And
Yeah,
we'll feel more happy and more together and more whole. We won't feel fragmented, and then we have to drink or go to a party or whatever it is we all do to feel better.
yeah,
Shopping,
yeah,
but whatever it is. So,
yeah.
so the one, about when we see things within ourselves, just like Lord
Mm,
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in the 14th chapter, he says the Arjuna asks, what are the symptoms of someone who's transcendental? And Krishna answers that when one sees ignorance, passion, and goodness and just lets them go, it's not me. I'm not the one who hates my mother. I'm responsible, but it's this feeling. And so, what should we do about it? Just observe it and not, that's me. I'm a terrible, rotten person. I should not let myself have good relationships. And it just gets all crazy. No, so anyway, like that. They just
yeah,
observe it. Oh, hmm, just deal with it. And of
mhm,
course, feel bad. Oh, this is not good. Wish it weren't like that, but not hate ourselves.
yeah. And then the advice that you gave, that be with yourself for a week, but week is too much. But even if it is for a day, what do you do? I mean, do you engage yourself into cooking, or that one day that you be with yourself, you just,
Yeah, no,
what do you
but
do?
no, try and just avoid, distract. What do you call it? Like reading things on the internet or watching television or listening to music or just quiet. I guess that's the word, quiet, disconnected, just just with our own thoughts. Yeah, whatever it is we may be doing, but not distracted by things that fill our mind. So there's just us in our mind, not us, our mind in the music, or us, our mind in whatever. It's just us.
And how we have
Yeah,
trained ourselves to multitask. It's difficult. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Even some people know that they go on retreats. There's all different types. There are people who go on, 3-day retreats, weekend. They go to the mountains, or they go to the country, or they just stay in their flat, and you know, because they
Yeah.
realize I need to disconnect, step
Slow
back.
down. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for an excellent class today. Can I request Arya Govind Prabhu, are you able to close this session for us today? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session on, as Mataji said, practical tips on daily Krishna consciousness, and then how Krishna behaves with his devotees, and then how he interacts with different in different positions. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I request all the devotees to unmute and chant Hare Krishna once, Mahamantra once.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I wish everyone a
Great
good week.
Prabhu ki.
Best wishes to you and
Yeah.
family and loved ones.
Thank you
Hopefully
so
I
much.
can meet with you all again next week if I'm so fortunate.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Take care.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.